Okay, where we go? Okay, so you have to be familiar with inequalities. So we said this first one is less than. Okay, what's different about this next one? It's less than equal to. Okay, what about our next one? Get focused, get focused. Greater than. And then we have greater than equal to. Okay, so we need to make sure that we can read those properly. Yes? Yeah. Okay. So if we look at the next section, we're going to go ahead and write the inequality. Okay? Do you remember when we did this before? We went like this?
No.
Okay, and the number was in between? So it's 0, x is between 0 and 5. Do you remember that?
No.
No? Okay. Well, it'll come back. Now, what happens when the circle is closed? It's equal to, so both of these should have an equal to on them. We're also going to practice writing interval notation. So for interval notation, we would have 0, 5. Am I going to have a parenthesis or a bracket on the 0? A bracket. So bracket means equal to. And a bracket on the 5. Okay, so you can write it both ways. You can write it with compound inequality, or you can write it in interval notation. You just have to be careful on which way I ask you to write it. All right, our next one is from, is that -8?
Yep.
To 2? Do either of those get a line underneath? No, because they're open circles. So if we were going to write it in interval notation, oops, let me put that blue. Interval notation, what am I going to have? Parentheses on both. Okay. Huh? Feel a sneeze coming on? All right, this one's going to be from -2 to 5. What's going to be on my -2? A bracket. What about my 5? Oh, I forgot to write. Oops. Oh well, it's okay. We'll do the compound inequality too. I did interval that way. Okay, so -2 to 5. Which one's gonna? Guys, can we get focused, please? All right, -2 to 5. Which one's gonna have a line underneath? The one by the -2. What happens when the whole thing's covered? Do you remember what we call that? Yeah. You can say it's all real numbers. Okay? It's like a double stick on an R. It just means all real numbers. You guys have never seen that before?
No.
So you do 2 sticks, drill an R. That just means all real numbers. Okay? So you can do it that way. You could write it like this. -infinity to infinity. Or you can do -infinity to infinity with interval notation.
We'll just stick with the R.
If you can turn your paper and draw an 8, that's fine.
Why are you so good at that?
I've been doing it for like 6 years at least. Well, no, I did it in college too.
And in our grade.
I've been taking private lessons from my parents and I still don't get it.
Okay, so we have been talking about, when we talked about functions, right, we talked about x values being, what was other names for x values? Input, okay? So we have x values. We have input. What do you think the D stands for? Domain.
Good job.
Okay, what about R?
Range.
Range. What about O?
Output.
Output. And then Y is Y value. So there's sections because domain, input, and X, they're all the same thing. They're all associated with each other. And then range, output, and Y are all associated with each other. It does. That's funny. Okay, so we're going to go through some examples, and we're going to pick out domain and range. Domain is associated with what? X. So for domain, we want our X values. Okay, range is Y. Now, is this a function?
No. It's not.
There's a repeat in what?
0.
Yes, there's a repeat in the X values. So no, it is not a function. Right now, here is how we write the domain for this. Okay, since it looks like this, okay, we're just going to list the numbers. So we're going to list 0, we're going to list 2, -3. Do we need to list 0 again, do you think?
No.
No, we don't. And 1.
Just wrote it in.
You don't have to.
What if we did like?
That's okay. All right, the range is just your Y values. Again, if there's a repeat, then you don't need to write it. No repeat on those. Okay, so here we have input output. Which one's X? Input. Is this a function?
Yes.
So our domain would be 72, 60, 48. Some teachers like you to put them in order, okay, from lowest to highest. I don't care which way you write them, okay? Doesn't matter to me as long as you have those numbers in there. Okay, and then output 6, 5, and 4 for our range.
So don't you say that these ones go to X?
Yeah, because input is X.
No, but so good. So these parts
Okay, so if you get something like this, okay, if you get something like this, always assume that the left is X and the right is Y. Okay, just assume that if it's not written for you. So, is this a function?
Yes. No. No.
One number has 2 arrows. Can't happen. Okay, so that's a no. For the domain, we just list our numbers. All right, number 4. Okay, is this a function? This looks a little different. Yeah, because if we would draw a vertical line, it wouldn't go through 2 points. Okay, so that's a, oh, sorry. Golly gee. Yes. Okay, domain is which values?
Sorry.
Friends, I need you to say focus. Okay? Focus up here. Okay? Domain is X. So you want to look at your X values. So we have an X value at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there's a couple ways you could do this. You could list all the numbers. Okay? Or you could say like this. Oh, wait, no. Man, I'm just making mistakes all over. Okay? From 1 to 6, okay, let's go back. Why could we not say all the way from 1 to 6 and write it like I just wrote it? Why could we not do that? It's 5.5 have a dot? Everything in between it. Okay, so we can't write it that way. My mistake, we cannot write it that way. But we can write it like this. What would have to happen for us to write it from 1 to 6, kind of like I did before? There would have to be what? You would have to have a line that connects them, right? There would have to be a line in between those. All right, our range. So our range is our Y. So it goes from -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 6. Okay, so on a coordinate plane, you kind of have to look and see what's going on if they're not connected. Okay. Here, is this a function?
Yeah.
Yes, that's a function. Okay. The domain. Where does the domain start? What's the lowest X value? 1. Okay. Where does it go to? 5. So this is how we write that. Okay. X is between 1 and 5. now we have to decide, is 1 included on our graph? Is there a point on the graph at 1? Yeah, right? There's a point here. There's no open circle or anything, so we assume yes. What about at 5? Yeah. Okay, so those would both be. If you don't see an open circle, then yes, it's closed. Yeah. Okay, if we want to write interval notation, we write it like that. All right, the range, what's our lowest y value? Lowest y value? 0, and it stops at 6. Now, do you see the difference here? I put y, because y is our range, right? Range and y are the same thing. So you have to be really careful when you write that. Range has to have a y in between. If you do that on a quiz, I will mark it off. It has to be a y there. Okay. So you're not dealing with x values. Any questions on that? Okay, is 6 in the domain? X equals 6? No, it's not, right? There's no x values that are 6 on that. And again, interval notation for that one, if we do interval notation. Okay, questions for me on number 5? All right. Number 6, is it a function? Yes, it is. Okay, our domain. What's our domain start at? -3. And it goes to? +2. We'll include both of those. Go ahead and see if you can write the range. Try to write the range. All right, what's your lowest y value? -3. And it stops at 2. Okay, so both of those are -3 to 2. But remember, when you write it with that set notation, it's going to have the x and the y in the middle. Is y equals 1 in your range?
Yes.
Yes. Very good. All right, number 7, is it a function?
Yes.
You bet. Okay, our domain. Domain is which values? X. This is different. So if you've already done this problem and you're moving ahead, that's okay, but you may have gotten it wrong. Okay? Because what do we have at the end here on our graph? Arrows pointing up. Does our graph ever stop? No. So if I kept drawing this arrow and I kept going and going and going and going and going, do I know what x value it ends at on the left-hand side?
No.
What about on the right-hand side? No. How do we write that? Yes. We say it's from -infinity to +infinity. Oh, no equal to on those. Infinity will never be equal to 1. Because you can't pinpoint an actual number. All right, range. What's our lowest y value? -1. Okay, and that's included. -1's included. And it stops at what? That those arrows keep going up. It stops at infinity. So this one would look like this for interval notation. Is y equals 4 in our range? Yeah. Right? If it stops at infinity, yeah, all those numbers are valid. Anything below -1 would not be valid. If anything above -1 is fine. All right. Is it a function?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, our domain, we just list those. And our range. Okay, number 9, our circle. Is it a function?
No.
No, doesn't pass the vertical line test. What's this domain? What's the very left hand x value? -1. And the very right hand? 5. Okay, you have to know set notation and interval notation, so make sure you're taking notes of both. Okay, our range. What's our lowest y value? Negative, I think it's -3.
3.
-3, and it stops at
3.
+3. If x equals 4 in the domain,
Yes.
okay, questions so far? All right, we're gonna do some multiple choice.
Oh.
So, which graph represents a function whose domain, okay, this is where it gets a little tricky, whose domain is the set of non-negative, what's non-negative? Positive, right? So, domain is the set of positive real numbers. So, x is all positive, is what's happening right here. Okay? So, where is x all positive? C. This one's definitely out. Why is B not an answer there? It's not a function. They're all positive x values, but that's not a function. Okay? And then D, obviously that's on the negative side. So it should be C for that one. The graph of a function is shown, should be shown. What is the domain of the function? What's our very left x value here? -4, and it keeps going to what? Positive infinity, right? It's going towards positive. You agree? All right, so if we look, how would we write that? X is greater than or equal to -4. Okay, so just know, going like this, okay, -4 to infinity, or like this, okay, this is the same thing as that. You can write them both ways. I don't care which way you write it. Okay? You can say, oh, it's just x is greater than or equal to -4. Or you can say it's from -4 to infinity. It doesn't bother me however you want to write it. Yes? Is that okay? Good deal. I think the rest is practice. So go ahead and work on those. I think the solutions are on the back at the bottom. I believe. Are they on there?
Yes.
Yes, perfect. Okay, so go ahead and work. We are out of here at, we're like 16 minutes. Is enough to get your practice.